Switch Your Sitch podcast is proudly brought to you by Katie Turner Media Services, where we help you strategize, host, create, and execute engaging content on all of your social platforms, but specifically LinkedIn. We believe that you shouldn't need to pay for expensive advertising on these platforms when you create and execute exciting and engaging content. Need our services? Join us at www.katieturnermedia.com. Otherwise, send us an email, hello@katieturnermedia.com. Hope to hear from you soon. Welcome to Switch Your Sitch with your host, Katie Turner. I'm super excited today. I've got Renwick Watts from VitHit here in Sydney or in Australia, which is the Australian arm of VitHit Global. It is an Irish brand or created by an Irish ex-rugby player, Gary Lavin. So I'm going to hand it over to Renwick. He's come from a sports business background. So similar to myself, where I've been involved in sports for the last 20 years, but I also have business qualifications. We're going to touch on that a little bit as well. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Renwick, just to give us a brief background about your experience so far with FMCG, with your sports AFL background, and where you've landed today with VitHit. So welcome.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Katie. Look, really excited to chat today around everything VitHit and I guess my story and how it's all progressed. So if I sort of look back, many years ago, I was a very enthusiastic sportsman and, played at a higher level AFL football and basketball, represented my state and country. So that was, I guess, as a young kid, was my dream. I always just wanted to play at the highest level. And look, I nearly made it. I nearly got there, but not quite. Probably, I guess, one of those things that it's such a competitive environment, and there's a bit of luck that goes there, whether it's injuries or so on. But look, I went through the ranks, and soon enough after playing at that high level, I thought, look, I'm not going to make it as an AFL footballer now. My time's up. I really need to start focusing on a career. So I wanted to study something that was broad because I wasn't quite sure, what that would look like. And I fell into business marketing.
So you did a degree in business marketing?
Yes.
And what sort of drove you into the business side of things? Like, was it that what you were seeing from a sports business perspective, or was it something that interested you?
Yeah, so look, I always had I think my first part-time job when I was at university was working in retail and selling. So I sort of always enjoyed being around people and having that environment. My father, he owned quite a renowned restaurant in Fitzroy Street in Melbourne. So that was sort of ingrained with my mum. She had quite a successful salon as well. So business was always a part of our upbringing. I suppose it was I just didn't know what it was that I was going to fall on.
And we talked off air about that journey through professional sports careers and setting yourself sort of up for that being, something you're passionate about, something that you want to make money off. And when that doesn't eventuate, there is a mental health side to that as well. How did you feel about that when you discovered that perhaps, you couldn't make a career out of professional AFL or basketball?
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I think I was, I guess, in denial for many years, thinking, that was meant to be my journey. Whether I worked hard enough at it or not, it didn't eventuate. So I think even up until this day, when I've just recently, a couple of years finished playing local sport, there was a big gap in my life that I needed to fill or fulfill with something else. And I guess my advice to anyone that is doing that is, use your support network around you, whether it's, family and friends, and just try and keep as busy as possible. Because, look, it is a big adjustment for any sport, any level.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Having worked with a lot of NRL clubs, and we're seeing that gap. Once with the retirement comes, it's such a, I call it almost like a bipolar relationship. You go so far from being up to crashing so hard, and not only that, you've got social media to adjust to as well. So all of a sudden, you're at the front of the nightclub line, and the next thing, nobody knows who you are. Like that's huge.
Yeah. Look, definitely can be a fall from grace. But look, as I said, I've kept myself really, really busy with business and family and other hobbies now. So yeah.
You're feeling that and actually doing a beautiful job of it, because I love VitHit. Before we even talk about that, let's talk about, so you finished your degree and then you went to work for Red Bull and CAPI.
Yeah, so finished my degree, and luckily enough, Red Bull was just launching in the Australian market when I was finishing up. So I said, look, what a great company! It's pretty much a marketing company that sells a drink, and it was really, really early days in the brand. So I thought, look, it's a great opportunity. Still a multinational company, but they were still sort of grassroots and growing their presence in the Australian market. So I started as an entry sales representative, and we were literally selling cases of Red Bull at the back of our car. So you think to where that brand is now, it's amazing to see. And look, learned so much, got put out of our comfort zone, on a monthly basis, where we're doing, practice sales training. It was great, and learnt a lot. So I sort of worked my way through the ranks there, and I guess was lucky enough that there was a group of us at Red Bull that moved on. I guess got poached as such to an emerging brand called CAPI. So which is a mineral water and mixes. It's sold in
tonic water.
Yeah, tonic water.
Very good tonic water.
How could I forget? Yeah, look, they've probably got about 4 on the market now. So so that was a similar story. We started from scratch, and I was knocking on restaurants like Andrew McConnell and Movida Group, and I was getting knocked back left, right, and centre just because they had big contracts with San Pellegrino and all these big brands. So it took a lot of time and persistence, but in the end, we're really, really, it was really a successful brand, and we're proud of what we achieved quite quickly.
Can I just touch on that rejection? Because it's something, as a business owner, like you come face to face with daily, right? Like whether it be sales, whether it, whatever it might be. No, I don't want to come on your podcast. No, I don't want to buy your products. No. Have you got some kind of mechanism that helps you deal with that?
Yeah, look, it's almost like, it was like a little game for me. Like I would, and some of the things that you told, like if you go back to the same venue 3 times and it's like, mate, I'm not interested. So we sort of had to think outside the square, and we sort of wanted to personalize things. That's how we ended up getting into Movida, for example. We personalized a bottle for the buyer and said, look, this is the cool stuff that we can do. And we ended up winning that group, and it sort of filtered down from there. So I guess it's just one of those things that not giving up and just being persistent. And sometimes you will be put out of your comfort zone, and you might get told to get out, but it's all worth
and not take it personally, because I know my old business partner, I used to take it all personally. We were on Bondi Radio for a while, and we'd reach out to guests, and you'd get the knockback, and he's like, next, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I take that now. I'm like, all right, next. Or if it's something that you really want, like, keep knocking those doors down, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's important. And that's just life in general. It's up and down. You're going to have yeses and nos. And I guess that's the fun. Every day is different in business, whether it's your own, whether you're working for someone else. So
yeah, definitely. And so with VitHit, just coming back to the marketing, what actually leveraged those brands? Do you think it was the personalized service? Was it the marketing? When it finally took off, what do you think was there a golden ticket, I suppose?
Yeah, look, I mean, for Red Bull, it I think they were ahead of their time with a functionality beverage, which you're starting to see now really get leveraged in the Australian market and globally. So in terms of the product, they were ahead of the time, and now look, they were just marketing geniuses. So they pitch it themselves at, universities was a big one. So hitting those grassroots consumers that, they need it. They're studying. They need a Red Bull. Let's go and target those areas. So it was clever, and obviously, we've got the wings girls that would pop up at activations and so on. So very clever. And CAPI, I think it was just a great product. It was local. It was a different sort of sell. So I guess one of the things that we focused on, why would we be importing mineral water, from overseas when we've got perfectly good water in our own backyard? So as soon as you sort of change the mindset of buyers or whoever you're chatting to, even consumers, that's and it's a big thing now. So it was good timing.
And you touched on there a functionality drink. So coming into VitHit, how is that a functional drink? I mean, I'm all for it. I think you've nailed it with that wording, is that we're now talking about consuming functionality.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I mean, if I look at VitHit, which is it's a vitamin water, but I guess the point of difference in VitHit is it's a low calorie vitamin water. And when the product was produced, there was as I said, Gary, that the founder, he was an ex-rugby player that suffered a career-ending knee injury. Going through his rehab, and all, when he was in the gym, all he could notice was people drinking sugary drinks. So he wanted to create a product that not only had that functionality that is better for you, that had vitamins that would hydrate you, but had to taste good at the same time. So
I love it because it's so true. And as being a personal trainer, I see that all the time, people going for the Gatorades or the Powerades and consuming more calories in than they're actually just pumped out on a treadmill or on a bike.
It's crazy. And
it is crazy, but I think it's like education around that as well. These days, it is really, and we've got so many channels to do it on. What is your main channels for VitHit that you're working with?
Yeah, in terms of, I guess the big one for us was distribution. We wanted to get as much distribution as possible, and then I guess work on consumer events and getting the product in people's hands. So we know that we spent 2 years formulating the beverage specifically for the Australian palate or the Australian market. So it's a lot different to what's overseas. And we found that, once people try the product, then they're going to repeat purchase. So convenience, it's a convenience product. So it's in a lot of the national convenience channels, and then obviously retail as well. But then, there's a lot of opportunity in, gyms and so forth as well, which we haven't even tapped into yet. So.
And going back to the Australian palate versus overseas, can you give us a bit of insight into how it differs in different countries?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like we just launched in the US, for example, and if I compare the US to the Australian market, so the US the product is a lot sweeter. They just like sweeter drinks. Still no added sugar, but just a higher profile in stevia. So yeah,
I spent 6 months in Brazil, and I was blown away with how many soft drinks were in the market over there. Like, there was just aisles and aisles in supermarkets of soft drinks. So I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. Brazil has one of the highest type 2 diabetes prevalence than anywhere else in the world, one of the highest. So
yeah. And it's interesting you say that. Like, it's been a big focus, not only from a brand perspective, but buyers are now under pressure to open up their healthier range of beverages. And you see it all across the supermarket, whether it's in snacks or beverage, which is great for us. It's good timing.
And it's really something I hadn't thought about having to adjust a product, a universal product or a global brand, to a local market. Like, as in drinks? Like, because Coke, I'm sure, doesn't, maybe I'm wrong. Did Coke adjust the flavor depending on the country? Do you know that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, look, I know that a little while back, Coca-Cola changed their formulation in a market, and there was uproar. So within a month, they had to. I think they recalled all the product that they'd formulated, and changed it back to their initial ingredient. So yeah, look, it is different in each market. You even notice the retail layout of fridges in the UK versus Australia. It's so different. So we had to. That was why Gary was so keen. The founder of VitHit was so keen on having someone on the ground in the Australian market, because it's so different to what's happening overseas.
And I suppose it being warmer weather even will impact the consumption of it. All of those things you don't even think about being in the other side of the world, how much a universal product differs.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's where the opportunity in Australia has been. VitHit's now the #1 selling functional health beverage in the UK and Ireland. So if I put it in comparison, it's in it's on par with, Coke, like was it sugar-free Coke, Red Bull sugar-free. So it's up there, and we plan to sort of do the same and shake some feathers with the big guys here in the Australian market too.
Does it mix well with vodka?
I haven't tried.
I did go through a phase of drinking vodka with coconut water because of I'm hydrating myself as well.
Electrolytes and yeah. I mean, no, definitely. Look, I've seen, and you can even notice it in that spirit, in that alcoholic space now, that there's just so many. When I won't say better for you, but like there's so many options now with no added sugar, and it's such a growing market. So
yeah, definitely
exciting times.
Yes, especially the new generation coming through. I'm surprised about how healthy they are. That alcohol culture that I grew up with is on the way out, and it's more about going for non-alcoholic beverages or coffee rather than a drink. So it's although I did hear they're all on pingers. Only joking.
No comment.
Yeah. It's cheaper apparently. Okay, can I ask you what has been what pivots have you had to make any pivots during COVID at all, in terms of whether it's been your distribution channels that you had projected and had to change because more people are at home, or is there any huge changes you had to adjust?
Yeah, so look, one that springs to mind is we were going to be the major sponsor of Run for the Kids, and we produced all this stock that, and then obviously COVID hit, and we had 10,000 samples, 10,000 units that we needed to move. So it's sort of just thinking outside the square of where are we going to push this stock now. So we've had quite a bit of success on, say, Amazon in the US. So we looked into that channel as well as some other online platforms to move some of the stock. But yeah, like it's been a bit of a game changer. And I won't say it's been all for the bad for our business. Is we've noticed that buyers in some of the major supermarkets now, because of, I guess, what's happened in our world at the moment with COVID, is consumers wanting healthier options. So they've wanted to purchase healthier beverages. So it's been an easy discussion from a business point of view, an easier sell as such.
And I think you've nailed it, because consumers now are so used to, like 20 years ago, nobody bought bottled water, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, what are we buying water in a bottle for $3 a bottle for, And now everybody's used to, for me, when I'm out, it's the first thing I go for if I'm thirsty is to buy a bottled water. But if I know I can get something that's a little bit more functional, better for me and taste better, then you're kind of hitting two birds with one stone there.
Yeah, no, definitely. So look, as I said, it's been an interesting year, but we've grown as a brand. We're only 2 years into the Australian market, but we're really starting to get some traction. We've just recently rolled into 7-Eleven and Woolworths supermarkets. So right up at the front in the Coke fridges, which is fun. So yeah,
is that your biggest win? Has that been your biggest win for VitHit so far? Is Woolworths or?
Yeah, look, I mean, any of those major supermarkets is amazing. Like, it was an amazing moment to see it in the fridges there. So definitely a big win. But look, there's other one like 7-Eleven's massive as well. We're in Ampol, Caltex also, and look, there's the product's doing really well in Coles Local. So where it's even some of those smaller sites that they make up the numbers for, as well as those national groups. So,
and again, getting into Woolworths, was it a knocking on the door for 2 years kind of episode, or had you already created network?
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, Woolworths was, as I think when I first started the role at VitHit, I contacted the buyer. They're like, "Oh, look, we're not interested at this point." They were sort of still heavily focused on those large and multinational beverage brands, and in that 2 years, it's changed so quickly, which is amazing. And every review I'd pitch, and we finally won a review, and they took all 4 SKUs across. I think it was initially meant to go into 200 stores. Then I heard 500, and then it was into 780 stores. So I started to freak out. I'm like, we didn't forecast for this. I don't even know if we've got enough stock.
I mean, that's the biggest problem, isn't it? Is matching inventory with your demand. And is it manufactured in Australia, or is it buy-in overseas?
It's being imported at the moment, but we're very close to signing off on local manufacturing, which will I'd hope to happen Q1, but I think it's going to be realistically Q2 next year. So, which is really exciting. So
for the Australian economy as well. So employment.
Definitely.
That all goes back into here. And so if it's manufactured overseas, have you been hit by any logistical problems over COVID?
Yeah. Oh, look, it's every time I have stock on the water, I get nervous. We literally, I don't know if you heard about there was a container that got stuck in the canals, which would have been probably three months ago. Our container made it pass by, I think it was a day. So,
oh my God. And how much was on there?
Oh, we had, I think we would have had 40 or 60 pallets of stock on there. So, yeah, quite a bit of stock, and that would have been a bit of a deal breaker for us. So hence the urgency to start with local manufacturing. And I suppose, it's one of those things. I've always sort of been in FMCG, but now I'm learning a lot more about, importing and, that side of the business. So, yeah.
And is there a cost differential to that? Like, will you have to increase costs because I know that Australian consumers are actually about to produce a new product we're launching in January, and we did a big focus group on, are Australian consumers willing to pay more for locally made, and ours came out, yes, they were.
Yeah, I think definitely, and I think consumers now wanting as much, whether it's food products or whatever sort of product it is, made in our own backyard, just from that sustainability point of view. As I touched on earlier, it's ridiculous importing water across the sea. So it's been a heavy focus to get that up and running. So although Australians, in terms of beverage manufacturing, we seem to be a lot. And when it comes to health beverage, it seems that we're behind the 8 ball instead from overseas companies. So
who's leading it? The US, do you think? Or
look, I mean, I haven't dealt with the US in terms of manufacturing, but the UK are doing it really, really well. The French do it really well, and funnily enough, New Zealand, in terms of which
really? The demand for it has driven the supply, do you think? Like the demand?
Yeah. Look, I just think in terms of beverage, I think New Zealand are just ahead of the game. They're very, very innovative with their products, and they sort of just know what's I guess what's going to be on trend and what's happening in the market. So that's one thing which might shock a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it's being such a small country that, people either regard it as part of Australia. I'd never said that. But, that it is, they make a very good 42 below vodka. So I wouldn't be surprised that their functional drinks are out there. And I know that the rest of the world uses New Zealand a lot of the time as a test market. So perhaps that drives innovation there.
Potentially, yeah. No, definitely.
So one question I'm going to ask you, you've got formal qualifications in marketing and business. Mm-hmm. How much of it do you think you've actually brought those foundations into what you do now? Could you have done it without those formal qualifications?
Look, it's a great question. I think my marketing degree, marketing has changed so much since then. So there was no digital marketing within my course. So that's I think that's 80% of marketing now is digital, especially with our product is our consumers are on their phone a lot of the day. So we need to sort of hit them there. So look, I would say that it taught me just to be a little bit more disciplined and focus on something and finish something. Yeah. Which you need in any sort of business or any career as such. Yeah. So, but look, I mean, there's amazing people that haven't got degrees and haven't been to uni have been super successful. So it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination, I think, and building those networks. I always say, building networks is one of the biggest roads to success, and genuine networks. I've had so many people I know reach out and, want to sell you something. I say it's like walking into a bar and asking somebody to go home with you before you even have a drink with them. Right? There is a relationships behind networks as well. But it is a big road to success. And the foundations you do get from higher education, I'm with you. I think it's the persistence, the consistency, the ability to finish something that you've started, and definitely the numbers crunching. I've got an economics degree, and that's definitely the law of demand and supply underpins every business. So
yeah, you've got to know your numbers. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a big one. Okay, well, I'm going to thank you for your time. Can you let our listeners know where can they find VitHit, website, socials, if they want more information? Obviously in Woolworths.
Yeah. So obviously, Woolworths up the front, fridges. We're in Coles Local, 7-Eleven, Ampol, Caltex, and a lot of sort of your independent IGA supermarkets. So.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your time, Renwick. I really appreciate it. It's been great insight into VitHit, and something that I'm passionate about, still having a fitness business, is making sure that my customers aren't consuming sugar upon sugar upon sugar due to marketing as well. So you've definitely nailed it with it. I love that wording, functional drink or functionality in beverage. So.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate your time, Katie.
Thank you. I will catch up with you soon, and I'm going to try some with vodka.
Let me know how you go.
I'll let you know how the hangover goes.
Amazing.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Katie.
Bye.